Well, here I am sitting in Darth Vader's basket at slightly over 11,000 feet. I'm going 75 knots, more or less towards the southwest side of St. Louis. It is a crystal clear day with a little bit of snow on the ground, bright sunshine, and this is just like sitting in my living room. This is great. I'm going 75, 76 knots, something like 85 miles an hour right now, just cruising along. Right now I'm a little concerned that I might be using a little bit too much fuel, but it looks like at this point that I've got a maybe 50-50 chance of doing the 500 statute mile flight that I've wanted to do for many, many years. Anyway, it's a great day, and it's been worth 11 months of work to put myself on this little seat in this basket where I am right now on top of the world. It's virtually dead silent up here, except for the noise that I make myself. And, of course, as we balloonists know, nothing's happening. The basket and the balloon are perfectly still, and there's never been a wisp of air on this flight, and I don't think there will be, except after the landing, maybe. As I speak now, what time is it? It's 10:47 a.m. Eastern Time. The chase vehicle is probably about 60, a little more than 60 statute miles north of me, or north-northwest, and we're on the verge of losing radio communication. Life's not so bad. I'm sitting here at 11,000 feet above sea level, pressure altitude. I'm looking at Columbia, Missouri, checking out all the launch sites and landing sites for the U.S. National Hot Air Balloon Championship, which is going to be held here for the next 3 years. But I'm also going 90 miles an hour, 90 statute miles an hour, so I won't be here for very long. I'm on my way to the southwest side of St. Louis. I'm going to take a real good look at the St. Louis TCA, but it's no problem because I'll probably just fire up the transponder, and in addition, I will fly over the top of the TCA or to the southwest of it, so it won't matter for a lot of reasons. Life's pretty good right now. There's everything is functioning correctly. Everything has functioned correctly. It's a crystal clear sky. Above me, there are some little fair weather stratocumulus kind of stuff forming off to the northeast, east-northeast, and a little bit to the north. It's quite picturesque. It's a little bizarre for a person who's flown a couple thousand hours, mostly going very slow and very low and not going very far, to hop in a balloon with 40 gallons of fuel, and these have the appearance right now of being on the way to traveling more than 500 statute miles, something I tried to do 13 years ago with 8 times as much fuel as I took off with today. It looks like it's going to work today, but we'll see. I'm headed off to the mountains. I think I'm going to maybe make a rather interesting landing in some fairly significant southeastern mountains, probably in, northern Alabama, as best I can tell right now. I have the slightest traces of a headache right now, which might be the fact that I didn't sleep an awful lot last night due to all the rushing around trying to find a launch site. I also attribute it possibly to my having sat here at around 11,000 feet above sea level for quite a while. That would be one of the symptoms of altitude sickness, but it is very faint. My first aid kit doesn't seem to have any aspirin in it, which I would take if it did, just as a precautionary measure. I don't think there's going to be any problem with this at all. Oh, and also I have this wonderful coffee that I got at the restaurant where we had breakfast this morning. I have almost 2 quarts of this stuff. Fortunately, I have facilities in this basket also, so I don't have to worry about drinking coffee, and it's really quite enjoyable. To have some nice hot coffee every once in a while. The flight is really going very well. You know, as I'm now east of Columbia, Missouri, everything is just going hunky-dory. So I'll sit here and enjoy the warm sunshine, maybe get a little bit of winter tan, and also enjoy the 9 degrees Fahrenheit. But it's really incredibly comfortable. I've got my parka open, and my goose down vest has got the top 3 buttons or so, 2 or 3 buttons unbuttoned. I don't have my Northern Outfitters outer mittens on. I just have the very lightweight knit gloves, and my hands have been pretty much comfortable for the whole flight. The only problem I had with my glasses fogging up in this flight was right at the takeoff. So I was pretty much flying IFR for the first 5 or 10 minutes of the flight because I really couldn't see much, except looking over the top of my glasses. I could read the instruments by peering at them from 6 inches away. But that all cleared up on its own, so this is the way these flights are supposed to be. You know, I spent 11 months planning this flight, trying to think of everything that could go wrong, and I certainly spent a lot of time last night trying to think of everything that could go wrong, and some things that couldn't, worrying about freezing up here because they didn't bring the right clothes, and also worrying about the seals in the fuel system because if it had been very cold, for example, 25 degrees Fahrenheit below zero, that would be tempting the seals in the fuel system to fail. But no problems. Everything's great. This flight is going as perfectly as it could. It's a shame these conditions exist so rarely because every balloonist should get to experience this one time in his life. Or her life. I believe possibly the slight headache I mentioned is really a result of this hat squeezing my head mercilessly, along with pressing the parts of my glasses into the sides of my head. I just took a 12:15 p.m. set of readings. I got a little carried away with my tape recording and my observations of Columbia, and I missed the noon data recording, but I hope that I can be forgiven for that. I think I'm going to stay on a quarter after the hour and a 45-minute after the hour schedule now for the foreseeable future. I hope you can hear me. I'm just west. I hope you can hear me. I'm just Tucker. Appears that the best speed that I'm getting is about 78 knots, which is, let me do that in my head, that's 90 miles an hour, 90 statute miles an hour. And that seems to be happening right around 11,000 feet pressure altitude above sea level. If I go above that, it goes slower, and if I go below that, it goes slower. If I go up, I also make a little bit of a turn to the right, and if I go down, obviously I make a little bit of a turn to the left, but it's not very significant. It's now 12:35. What I'm trying to do right now, but I'm not doing a very good job because I'm getting a bit lazy, is I'm trying to stay at 11,000 feet, more or less, pressure altitude above sea level. Right now I'm at 10,950, not bad. I just hit 79 knots on the GPS. That's tooting right along. Just toggled up to 79 again and again at 11,080 feet. That's getting up into the low 90s miles per hour, statute miles per hour. I'm going to have a little listen in just a minute here at, well, wait a minute. Now, it's time to do an auto store and do some official record keeping now, and then I'm going to listen to the ATIS at the St. Louis airport to make sure I know what the surface wind is doing. Really don't want to overrun this high pressure area. That could be unduly exciting at the end of this flight. Incidentally, I've just checked, and the top of the St. Louis TCA is 8,000 feet above sea level. I'm going to cross it probably 11,000 feet, so I'm more than a half mile above the top of it. I don't need to turn the transponder on or talk to anybody.
On initial contact, you have whiskey. Limited information whiskey 1650 lower weather. Register 2,200 Logan, Visconti 15. Temperature -1, dew point -14. Wind 320 at 12, altimeter 3060. Simultaneous ILS runway.
Okay, I've got 12 knots of wind on the ground here, a little ways east of me. Must be about 40 miles east of me at Lambert Field in St. Louis. 12 knots is okay for landing. Looks a lot like we're going to Birmingham, Alabama. Now, 12:53. At about 1 o'clock, with any luck at all, I'll prepare for a little celebration because I'll pour myself some of this lovely coffee because I will have flown more than 303 miles, and I don't think anyone's ever flown a long jump that far before. I've got 58 pounds, or something like 58 pounds of usable fuel beyond my descent and landing reserve right now. Long jump balloon to Chase. John Dorado, are you there? Over. Long jump balloon to Chase. John Dorado, please come in. The value of the high gain antenna on the Icon radio is to catch things and put them into. I have just dipped down to 10,100 feet and 7.2 knots, which is not nice. So I'm going to go back up to 11,000 feet where I can go 7.8 knots, or maybe even 7.9. I'm here at 12:56. I'm pretty close now, like 5 miles to Interstate 44 southwest of St. Louis. I have my binoculars because I could probably see Lambert Field from here. But without the binoculars, I don't know if I'm going to be able to locate it. Away from it, I'm about 50 nautical miles from it. I don't think I'll be able to see it. I can barely make out St. Louis. Tape is boring to listen to, then it's probably a good representation of this period of this flight. This is impressive. I'm going 80 knots now. I'm going 80 knots at 11,600 feet. I've now gone 272 nautical miles. I think the longest long jump so far was Alan Baird's last year, and I think if I'm right about that, that was about 264 nautical miles. So I'm not 273. I'm 9 nautical miles farther than that one, and I got a ways to go. I'm getting ready to pretty soon switch on to the last tank. No, negative that. I'm down to 20%. I think I'm on, then I've got another full tank, and then I go back to the descent landing fuel. coming up on 1:15 p.m. now. I'm getting ready to auto store waypoint plus 030 in about 10 seconds. 200. Oh, river is reaching north and south about 30 miles east of me. I can see it may be going 128 back and 79 knots. Actually picked up during this flight, and I have been making the slight turn to the left as expected, and that's fine with me. I don't know if you can hear that noise in the background, but what that is something, I'm not real good with military jets, but it looks like an A4 maybe, or an F4. Cruising by probably about 3,000 feet below me and to the south. I've stayed completely out of all of the MOAs, completely clear. Matter of fact, I pretty well split the difference, I think, between the St. Louis TCA and the first MOA to the southwest. Two more of these guys are cruising by now. I just turned the transponder on so air traffic control knows about me. This is quite impressive. Matter of fact, this is more impressive than I care for right now. Yeah, there are two military fighters playing games with each other here about several thousand feet below me, but boy, these guys move fast. Wow. They also fly like maniacs. Wow. I just got circled rather impressively by a military fighter, same altitude, very impressive. The guy was had his wings approximately vertical, pretty much the way around me on a 360, pretty close. The smart thing is to get away from this MOA. I'm not in it, but I'm close to it, and these guys obviously leak out the sides pretty good. I hope this guy's buddy stays away. I've now gone 300 nautical miles, which is, let me see, I could probably do that in my head. It must be 345 statute miles. A whole bunch farther than anyone's ever flown on a long jump before. What a neat day. Got an entire usable tank usable at altitude. Plus, I've got about another 5 pounds. I got about 47.5 pounds of fuel I can use at altitude. It might take me two hours, but realistically, 7 hours maybe. I like 3:10 to start the descent, but that's going to be controlled by when I've got 20% in each of the last two tanks and 2 empty tanks. I'm going 80 knots right now at 10,100 feet, 10,200 feet. I think I'll fly maybe 10.5 now. Get around 80 knots at 10,400, 10,500 feet now. I think I'll stay here. This is good. Long jump balloon to John Dorado. Long jump balloon to John Dorado. Long jump balloon to John Dorado. This is Bruce. Long jump balloon to John Dorado in the chase vehicle. What I'm doing now is I'm plotting on the other side of the World Aeronautical Chart that I'm flying on. I'm going to be flying my course line the rest of the way across that chart because I want to make sure that I avoid what appears to be Redstone Arsenal restricted area. I don't want rockets being shot at me on this flight. And the deal on that is, since I've just drawn the line, is I'm going to clear it by 25 nautical miles. I've got no problems. The challenge on this flight is I'm going to be flying into the mountains, and I'm going to have to be a little careful about that because I'm going to have to come down and find myself someplace to land. Matter of fact, I'm going to get out the next chart to make sure that I'm ready to see what's ahead. It's almost 1:45, so it's almost time for more data recording. Guys in the chase vehicles, in both vehicles, I know you can't hear me at this point, but later you'll hear this. I want to know I really appreciate what you're doing because I know it's an awful lot harder for you and also awfully frustrating right now because we're out of communication. But I need you. Pretty nice. Where I am is I'm almost ready to switch on to the last full tank. I've been using 15.5 pounds per hour. The last hour I used 15.5 pounds of fuel, so obviously my rate of the heat from the sun is helping me a lot. My rate of fuel consumption is dropping. I can probably figure 15 pounds per hour for this entire 42.5 pounds. So I've got, this is incredible. I've got almost 3 hours of duration left at this point, probably, but time will tell. We're looking at 4:45 descent, maybe 4:30 starting a descent. I can go maybe. Let's get real here. I can go, say, 2.5 hours at altitude at 80 knots. I can do that in my head. That's 200 more nautical miles. I'm going 81 knots right now at 11.2. Right around 11,000 feet seems to be the place to stay. So let's say we go 200 more. We go to 528. Whoops, 528. Enter. We break 600 statute miles on this flight with luck. And then we quit this foolishness and keep our feet on the ground, or at least closer to the ground. And now it looks, and when is now? Now is 1:55, and it looks an awful lot like I'm going to land northeast of Huntsville, Alabama, clear of all the controlled airspace. I'm going to cross a bunch of mountains first, and then I'm going to come to what appears to be an open place, which I hope has fields in it, a widening valley that widens out towards Huntsville, and hope I can stick it in there near the bottom of that valley, and then it quits. It looks an awful lot like way over 600 statute miles. It's rather. I think we're going to maybe double the long jump record on this flight, and I will call it quits. That's nitrogen vapor, folks. Go switch tank. I'm going 83 knots right now, 11.4. Just listen quickly and carefully. I'm going to land northeast of Huntsville, Alabama. Do you understand? I am going to land at about 5, fairly close to sunset. I'm still flying. The important thing is I will be northeast of Huntsville, Alabama. About 30 miles. I'm not going to be able to talk to anyone else until I land, probably. And the phone is shaky, so we could get cut off at any moment. At about 5 o'clock, I will land about 30 miles northeast of Huntsville. Yeah, northeast maybe, but somewhere out there not far northeast of Huntsville, Alabama. And it's going to be a heck of a long flight. This is far more than I dreamed I could go. Everything is going fine. I've had no problems whatsoever. So you can pass that on to everyone. You've got like big time problems. I'll call you when I land for sure. Okay. Great. Thanks, Donnelly. Yeah. Okay. Bye. Boy, the fuel consumption is a joke. It's so little right now. I think I'm going to time it for a while and see how long I have the burner on per minute average. It's 2:10 in the afternoon. I got a little carried away with the heat, and the result now is I'm going 85 knots, and I'm at 11.7 right now, going 85 knots, 98 miles per hour. Give up on the timing thing. I'm using very little fuel. I've gone up. I'm now at 11.8, going 86 knots, which is awfully close to 100 miles an hour. 87 knots to be 100 miles an hour. I've checked the other World Aeronautical chart, and the factor that I would have if I get really lucky on speed, which appears I am, I'm now going 100 miles an hour, incidentally. The other factor is at the Atlanta TCA, because I think I'd be heading pretty much straight towards it. I would want to land before I got anywhere close to that, but there's a big, wide valley, and I'd get down anyway, fly into the TCA. If I had 100 statute miles per hour right now, crossing some river. Catch the corner of Illinois. This is really neat because I'm going to get to see Cairo, Illinois, which is the city about which I read. I must be getting a bunch of heat from the sun right now. The sun's real high in the sky. It's very clear. And, of course, my gross weight has gone down because of the fuel burn. We're southwest of Cairo. I've got to go. Never having been there, but having read half of a book about it this spring. I'm lazy here. I just missed one of my data recording times by a couple minutes. I'm going just over the southwest edge of the town of Cairo. 82 knots right now at 11,000 feet.
Arrival information off. All aircraft read back, all runway holding instructions, including aircraft right now. Visibility 8. Temperature 15, dew point -3. Wind 320 at 6. Altimeter 3048.
I just got just listened to the Nashville Airport ATIS, and the service wind there is 320 at 6. It's now 2:38 in the afternoon. So it looks like this high is doing exactly what it was supposed to do. It's going to give me good landing conditions. I've just passed 400 nautical miles. Right on, right now. It'd be pretty neat because I'd more than double the long jump record. I think the world long jump record. Right now there's scattered clouds below me, and what do those guys say? Maybe 4,000 feet. Pressure, pretty flat stratocumulus scattered stuff, fair weather clouds which should start dissipating in not long actually. There's of course no snow down here, so there's some ground heating, which is probably why they're in the sun is probably why these clouds are forming. Battery low warning. I've got to do it. I'm a little late on a reading right now. I better switch batteries before I do this reading on the GPS. Battery almost in my hand now. I'm going to alkaline batteries, which would be good for tire rest supply for sure, because I got 8 hours worth here. So, it's in my hand. Instrument's coming out. Get the instrument off now. And I am attempting to get the battery pack out. Battery pack in. Firing up the instrument. The instrument being the GPS. Firing satellites. Statute miles. 1,750 feet. For the good of my physiology, I'm going to stay down here. It looks like I'm going to have to start down at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. That gives me another 86 nautical miles, 87 nautical miles. Maybe 500 nautical miles is what this would be. 575 miles, roughly. Okay, now I'm going to get back, now that I've got all this excitement over, I'm going to get back to doing a little data recording. About 5 minutes ago, I just crossed into Tennessee. Where in Tennessee, you ask? I don't know. I mean, I do know, but it's out in the blue, about maybe 15 miles northwest of Paris. I have now gone 436 nautical miles, 436 nautical miles, 500 statute miles. It is 3:07. 3:07 p.m. Now I got to check out these mountains I'm coming to. I've got about 35% in the the last cruise tank, and then I got to start down. I think I got an hour of cruise left, maybe. I think I got to start down at 4 o'clock. So I can probably add 75 more nautical miles. I can go well over 575 statute miles. Somewhere in here I got to get sensible and make sure I have enough fuel to make a nice landing approach in what might be a bit of a inhospitable area. I also have to get some more surface wind information. Wild, I'm down to 10,400 feet and I'm going 83 knots. I like this nice thick air down here. It feels good to breathe. I've been twaddling along on this flight for, looks like about 6 hours now. Coming up on a data recording time also. Almost 6 hours. Wow. Alkaline batteries are low now on the GPS. It's now registering 449 nautical miles. So what I'm going to do is get out a bunch of alkaline batteries. I'm now registering 450 nautical miles, made good, going 84 knots in these alkaline cells. What the real problem is that these alkaline cells are cold, and I can warm them. I'll work on that in a minute after I get the new ones in. To put a hot hands in with the batteries, but I don't know how to do that. Considering either taping, I don't know if I have tape, or strapping a hot hands on the bottom of this thing. Try to keep the batteries on. I'm pretty sure that's what the problem is. I have available satellites. That is very unusual.
Suspect 90500 weather. 3,000. 216. Dew point -3. Wind is 30013. National altimeter 3051.
I'd be a little happier if the wind weren't 13 knots at Nashville, but I should be a little bit better off because I'm farther south. And I think the farther I go, the better it'll get, just by a little. Looks like I'm going to tack 460 nautical miles made good now. I think I'm going to tack on another good 40 nautical miles to make it a nice round 500 nautical miles, 500 plus. which is 575 statute miles, and might call it quits at that. Got a coffee left, but I think I'm going to drink some of it now.
Advisory control on initial contact. You have information, India.
It's 4:02 p.m. This is Nashville, ATIS.
Nashville Airport, 3,000 scattered, visibility 8, temperature 16, dew point -2, wind 310 at 12, altimeter 3052.
Well, 12 knots, so whatever that is, 14 miles an hour. But I guess that's okay. 4:03, and I believe I've got 20 minutes of cruise fuel left, or something in the order of about to 539 nautical miles, plus whatever gravy I get on the way down. And that'll be well over 606, something like 618, might end up with 625 statute miles. Must have about 2 hours of sunlight left. The longer I go, the calmer it's going to be at this point, probably. Sunset is at 7:59, say 17:59, 6 o'clock. That's perfect. I've got a little less than 2 hours. This is ideal.
Nashville Airport, arrival information, India, all aircraft rebate, runway holding instructions, exiting intercept identification, 2051, branch weather, 3,000 scattered, visibility 8, temperature 16, dew point -2, wind 310 at 12, altimeter 3052.
This is Huntsville, ATIS.
Huntsville Airport, Avis Whiskey 2050 Zulu weather, 15,000 scattered, visibility 25, temperature 25, dew point 3, wind 310 at 14, gust to 20, altimeter 30. 36 right. Initial contact.
Boy, that's not very cheery. Now I've changed the batteries again in the GPS, and I hope they work for the rest of the flight. I gotta start down. I'm in the process of trying to make the decision of exactly when to start down. It's 4:26. I got an hour and a half, a little over an hour and a half till sunset. And I'm pretty close to empty on the last cruise tank. I've got 20% in each of my 2 landing tanks. I've gone 544 nautical miles so far. These open fields, it's not the nicest terrain. A lot of trees, it's just... Going 548 nautical miles. I'm at 9,200 feet. I'm coming down 450 feet a minute. About left, taking a look down there and seeing what I'm going to have to land in. I saw through here there are potential landing fields. Maybe not very. Going down 400 feet, a little over 400 feet a minute. 440, 450, 450 feet per minute. I'm up almost 600 feet per minute. Envelope looks real good, no problem at all. Is this beautiful? The descent is backed off to almost down to 300 feet a minute. Bothers me as I see some more imposing mountains up ahead. All around, look for a nice landing field. Going 42 knots now at 6,100 feet, 135 degrees track. I've gone 554 nautical miles. Did a whole bunch more. Now I've got it up to about 138. 550 feet a minute seems to be about what the balloon wants to descend. It's 441. I've gone 556 nautical miles. I'm now tracking 125 degrees. Ah, ground speed is 11 knots. How nice. I think those guys at Knoxville were crazy. I hope. I'm at 550 feet a minute. I'm at 3,700 feet pressure altitude. Low bat indication on the lower battery on the instruments, and I flipped back to the upper battery, and apparently my trick with the heater and also giving it a rest has worked, so I'm not going to try to change batteries now. On the cruise tank, I'm down to 1150 feet. I've just started on the last tank. I mean, I've started on one of the two landing tanks to help stop that descent, because the cruise tank's on vapor right now. I'm going to switch it. Okay, that even really fairly convincingly sounded like the end of the cruise tank. It's time to start making landing approaches anyway. The wind below me seems actually to be slightly faster. I'm only flying about 800 feet. I go down, I go make a right turn and go faster. There's noticeable shear. It's okay. Oh! Knots at the treetop. Okay. Okay. Land the balloon. landed.